going on, everyone? So Los Angeles Lakers could use some wing depth, some athleticism, some scoring off the bench would be huge for this Lakers team. And one guy that kind of checks off a lot of those boxes is Quentin Grimes. Now, got to look at Quentin Grimes last night as we played the Philadelphia 76ers. He's on his way out, right? Either Sixers are going to trade him this year or he's going to end up leaving and departing and going elsewhere in the offseason. He didn't have a great game against the Lakers as far as shooting the basketball went. He had 7 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. He's 1 of 6 from 3-point range, but he's a guy on the season. He's averaging just under 17 points, 4 rebounds, 4.5 assists. He's a guy, get after it defensively, has some athleticism, give you some scoring. He's a guy that's comfortable playing off the bench, being a starting guy. I mean, one of the reasons Dallas got him several years ago was to be kind of that 3-and-D guard, guy that could score the basketball and stuff like that alongside Luka Doncic. He's kind of exploded onto the scene the last few years, and particularly last year with the Philadelphia 76ers. Question is just what would it cost to acquire somebody like him, right? Talked about Quentin Grimes in the offseason. I still think he's a guy that makes a ton of sense. He's making just under $9 million this year, $8.7 million. So he's somebody that is reasonable enough to trade for. And it's when it comes to Quentin Grimes, it's interesting because I don't think you'd have to get, in many cases, you'd probably have to give up a first for him, right? But in the case of the situation that he's in with the Sixers, I don't think you would, right? Because Quentin Grimes, again, can go into free agency as an unrestricted free agent. So he could say, hey, I want to go to the Lakers. I want to go back and play with Luka. I don't want to go anywhere else, right? And if it's Philadelphia, would they rather just lose him for nothing? Or would they like to get a second or something like that in return? You're going to have to give something up for him. So I'm not saying you're going to be able to get him just for a swap or Gabe Vincent or something like that. But could you do Gabe in a second or something like that? Or, maybe you expand it to a Kelly Oubre. We didn't get to see Kelly Oubre play because he was dealing with an injury, but maybe you're doing something like Gabe Vincent and, a Dalton Connect and whatever else for Quentin Grimes and Kelly Oubre. Give you some size, some athleticism, some versatility, some defense, give you some guys off the bench, especially if Philadelphia kind of, hits a slide a little bit. They're kind of right now in that middle of the pack range, right? But if they start to see that slip, if they start to see a bit of a decline in production, Joel Embiid, Paul George, they're two guys that aren't reliable health-wise, right? They're not two guys that you're banking on to play 70 games this season. So they start to slip a little bit, right? Do they also kind of go the youthful route, right? With Edgecombe and Maxey and kind of McCain even, right? And maybe they'd be interested in somebody like a Dalton Connect, right? Just give them some shooting and some floor spacing off the bench, slot in 2 through 3 for you. Maybe they'd have a little value. I mean, better to have Dalton Connect and his cheap contract and take a flyer on him than losing Quentin Grimes for nothing. That's the alternative, right? Would you rather lose him for nothing? Would you rather get something in return for him? And like I said, maybe you can extend this out to Kelly Oubre. I do think you need the Sixers. So right now, the Sixers are the 7th seed. They are tied for the 9th. They're 4 games, however, ahead of the Bucks and the Bulls for the 10th and 11th seed. So Sixers, very likely, because who are the Sixers overtaking? Maybe Miami, right, for the 6th seed. They're half a game back of Miami and Orlando, but Pistons, Knicks, Celtics, Raptors, and probably Magic, I think, are going to stay ahead of them in the standings. Heat, sure, maybe they take an L, maybe they end up declining and dropping a little bit. So if the Sixers, you get to, the trade deadline and the Sixers are kind of, on the outside looking in, maybe you pull something off to do that. Would you do, the other thing is too, would you do maybe a Rui and because the problem is they got a lot of guards and stuff like that. So a Gabe Vincent doesn't make sense, right? Are they really going to want a Maxi Kleber, right? Would you do Rui and a Dalton Connect for a Quentin Grimes and a Kelly Oubre? If I could get Oubre 2 in the deal, it'd be kind of hard to say no. Because now you got a legit 3-and-D wing, athleticism, size. Oubre is 6'8", athletic, can play multiple positions, defend multiple positions. You get Quentin Grimes, who can do a lot of the same stuff, right? Be that defensive piece for you, go and score the basketball, shoot the basketball, play on ball, play off ball, familiar with Luka, play alongside Luka, play off of Luka, a guy that go get you buckets. I mean, if he can maintain that, 17 points or whatever off the bench every night, I mean, that would be huge for the Lakers, especially for a team that desperately needs some bench scoring, right? And you're talking about a guy that already was having, conversations last year about being like a six-man type of guy. He's 25 years old. He'll be 26 in May. So he fits that timeline. He fits that youth range. Question becomes, how much does he want, right? Like if he wants 25 to 30 million, kind of tough to get him. Right, kind of tough to want to go and trade for him. But if he's in that like 20 million range, right? Because I mean, again, he's giving you 17, 4, and 4, essentially off the bench in a lot of ways. I mean, he's averaging about 30 minutes. He's a guy 6'4", 6'5", again, got size, length, versatility, all of that. But he's not really a wing. He's a 2 guard who can slot in at the 2 or the 3 for you, but he's not really a 3, right? Like, would you be better off putting the money into kind of that 6'7" wing type thing and maybe going with like somebody like a Keon Ellis in the offseason or something like that, or going and pushing a trade for like a Keon Ellis or something in the offseason where, he's probably going to be cheaper. He can he doesn't give you the scoring, but he gives you that 3-and-D versatility off the bench, stuff like that. And then maybe trust like a Nick Smith Jr., who would probably be cheaper, and he could kind of be that scoring guy off the bench, right? These are all things that the Lakers are going to have to weigh. Because again, if Quentin Grimes wants, $25, $30 million, he's going to want as much as he can possibly get. I don't think the Lakers can give him that, right? But if he wants something like if he's willing to take like, basically a Rui, like 17 to 20 million, somewhere in that range, then I do think that that's something that you should consider. Because again, he can give you that production. He could start, he could come off the bench, he could do multiple things for you. Also, if you go and get a Quentin Grimes, like how long is he going to be okay coming off the bench? Because I wouldn't want him to be our starting 3, if I'm being honest. Because again, he's more of a 2. Do you really want 3, 6, 5 guys all defend? Probably not. So, to me, I think personally, obviously, look, if you can get him and you can get him cheap, I think you get him. But is he somebody like what? I think you need to find out what kind of role is he open to having. Does he care, or is he just like, hey, I just want the minutes? Or is he somebody that's like, no, I have to start, right? Because otherwise, unless you're trading Austin Reeves in the trade, like now, if you were to trade Austin Reeves for, say a Giannis Antetokounmpo, then yeah, Quentin Grimes would make all the sense in the world. Because now you got Luka, Quentin Grimes with, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, yeah, like let's go, right? DeAndre Ayton and then whoever your 3 is, right? So yeah, something in that regard, I'm all for that. I would, in the offseason, if you told me, hey, we could turn Austin Reeves and, the picks that we get into Giannis, go get Quentin Grimes right now, give him that 20 million, and then go and do that trade for Giannis, that sign and trade for Giannis, and let's go win a championship, right? Like that would be my thought process. But unless something like that was to happen, assuming that what is the most likely scenario, which is that the Lakers keep Austin Reeves and pay him, Quentin Grimes, again, he does have the 3-and-D capability. He can defend at a high level. He does give you the athleticism and defense and versatility and all those things. However, he's not a guy I'd want as our starting 3. I don't really want like a 6'4", 6'5" starting 3. I want somebody that has the size, the length, the athleticism, the defensive versatility, like a Duzero or, Herb Jones or, Andrew Wiggins, guys like that, like true, like sizable starting 3 that can play that position, right? Where, I look at Quentin Grimes more to kind of solve the Lakers' bench issues. But you also don't want to sell the farm to go get Quentin Grimes and then he ends up leaving in the offseason, or he wants to get the absolute bag or something like that, because then that could be problems. But let's go over his stats here for a moment. So this season, 22 games played, 4 games started, just under 33 minutes per game, 32.9. He's taking 11.8 field goal attempts, which is actually down from the last season with Philadelphia, which again, last season with Philadelphia, he was basically the primary scoring option on many nights. But basically 12 field goal attempts per game, shooting 45.2% from the field. On 6.4 attempts, he's shooting 37.1% from three-point range. He's a career 37.5% guy. He did shoot 40% with Dallas on 4 attempts last season, and then 37.3% on 8 attempts with Philly last season. So a lot of the drop in attempts is actually from three-point range. 2-point range, shooting 55% on 5 attempts. Last season on almost 9 attempts, he shot 56%. EFG of 55.2%, 55.9% EFG last season. This season, free throw line, 4.1 attempts. He's shooting 85.7%, so basically 86%. Last year it was actually up. He's a career 78% guy. 4 rebounds, which is down from the 5.2 with Philly last season. 4.4 assists, which is on par with last season, 4.5. He's getting a steal, which is down. He's getting 1.5 steals, but still a full steal. He's getting half a block, which is on par, and then 16.5 points per game. So basically, he's a 17-point-a-game guy on good efficiency, good shooting, can slot in multiple positions, play multiple positions for you, knock down the 3-ball, do basically everything you could ask, and then some, all off the bench. To me, he's a guy that I would love to see kind of come in and operate as that 6th man for this Lakers team. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Disagree? Do you like Quentin Grimes? Do you think not? Stay away from Quentin Grimes. How do you feel? Love to hear it down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. Helps me enjoy these types of videos. I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.